Hello world, I'm Data Miner Mole, and I want to invite you to our next AI event in Spokane, Washington. Click the link to learn more.
There's no winning and losing. You're winning or you're learning. So, and really the only way you're moving forward in life is through failure. And if you don't fail, then you haven't stretched yourself enough.
All right, welcome everyone to this week's Friday Conversations. We're excited to be here and have Ivan Simmons with us. Just a reminder, every Friday we're here, come at 2:30. We hang out about 4:30 and chat.
Where is that?
We're at Action Business Furniture.
We're at Action Business Furniture, yep.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll start off, go around and introduce ourselves, talk about any events that are going on in the community or that we're involved with. And Rob, if you want to start us off.
Okay. Hey everyone, Rob Reuter with IDIC Designs. If you're looking for if you're looking to resolve challenge.
For example, like say your kid spills juice on the floor. If you like totally blow up and go, oh my gosh, I can't believe you spilled juice on the floor, and that it can be cleaned up with soap and water. It's not a big deal. But what if like something major happens? They fail a test. I don't know. They make a bad choice of something. I kind of went blank on what bad choices are out there. There's a lot of bad choices. And it's like they're going to be like, oh my gosh, if she can't handle juice being spilled on the floor, there is no way she's going to handle this situation, So when I've talked to parents about that, that really kind of puts things in perspective, and they're like, oh, okay, so I think that helps. And also, if there's something that you feel like you're gonna just like really react strongly about, it's like take a breath, drink a sip of water.
I thought you were gonna say drink a gallon of wine.
It's not good stress. Not good stress management.
And then respond, and that gives you those few seconds to.
That actually reminds me.
Tone things down.
When we were talking, and I wrote it down, but you had said winning and learning, there's winning and there's learning.
Yeah.
So just teaching the kids that.
Yeah. So there's no winning and losing. You're winning or you're learning. So and really the only way you're moving forward in life is through failure. And if you don't fail, then you haven't stretched yourself enough. And so you might have something in your life that just everything just falls into place, but that's very rare. And so there's going to be failure, and then you grow, you learn from it. And so teaching your kids that it's okay to fail. That's just the learning process, so that you can do the next thing. That way didn't work. So let's, try something different.
Heidi, is the majority of the people you work with moms rather than dads?
Yeah, right now I'm working with moms.
And when you go out to give talks and things like that, are there any men in the audience?
So far it's like been moms groups.
Mostly moms.
Yeah, but these activities, and even like talking about the good things and bad things and grateful things, it brings both parents into the picture, because you do that with the whole family. So that way, especially like if you have like a really outgoing kid, that kid's getting hurt all the time, and then your more quiet child might not, but this gives them all an opportunity to.
But you have the opportunity to also work with dads.
Yeah.
So that there is that balance when they go home.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I got a 9-year-old and a 6-year-old at home, and some of the stuff you're talking about, like I could definitely use this, like implement these things. I want to revert back to something you said at the beginning though, because it kind of piqued my interest, because I think maybe it's something I struggle with. You were talking about a balance, but it might not be what we think. Like, can you elaborate more on that? Like what you were meaning by it?
So I think sometimes when people are thinking like work-life balance, it's like, I'm at work for 8 hours, I should be at home for 8 hours, or, and having that balance, or like, but a lot of times you're at work, you're feeling guilty that you should be with your family, and then you're with your family, and then the work stuff comes up, and so it's not, I don't know if it can really I don't know how to explain it, but it can really be balanced in that way. But knowing, I mean, you're working because you want to provide for your family so that they have opportunities. And then when you're home, being present with your kids. And the thing is that your kids really, they've done studies, and like your kids need 15 minutes of your time a day, like being totally present, where they can talk to you, they know that you're listening. And 15 minutes a day of that quality time, if you know what to do during that quality time, it's going to build your kids' self-esteem and their confidence. And before I moved here, I had mentored youth, and I found an hour a week. I mean, just the change in these kids, an hour a week of having a consistent present adult was huge in increasing their confidence. And so that's also why I had this passion to help parents, is that if that was once a week and I'm not a family member, what if kids had that consistent presence in their home every day in their home? And then I discovered, 15 minutes a day is really all it takes. So, and then that way the kid knows there's going to be time. And so that actually helps them when they're at school too. Like if someone's like bullying them at school or something, they can actually kind of deal with it better because they know as soon as they get home that day, they can talk to you about it. And
Is that also true for grandparents? There are grandparents raising kids.
Yeah. And so really with any the primary caregiver of a child, these are important things. And I just heard recently that it just takes one adult in a kid's life to make a difference. So it doesn't need to be both parents. I mean, it's great if it is, but if one parent just, takes the reins and goes with it.
How hard would it be to bring back the tradition of dinner time? I mean, to me, that's gone by the wayside, because no one ever, the mom and the dad and the kids never get ready, never get to the family table
Yeah.
during dinner time. It seems like that doesn't happen anymore, and I don't know why, but
TV's more important.
yeah, well, yeah, and
Yeah.
your
And
cell phones and
and
computers but is there a way that the moms can figure that out?
yeah, and even if, maybe like once a week. I mean, when my kids were in middle school and high school, I mean, we had so many activities going on. I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes there's a kid like eating in the car between one activity going to the next. So eating as a family just didn't really happen. But on the weekends, we could be, more intentional
Sunday
about
dinners?
that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
So
I miss those.
but I think that is important. And even if you have that schedule where it's, kind of crazy, still making that time for your kid every day for like 15 minutes. And I mean, it could be in the car if that's what it has to be, but as long as your kid knows that they're gonna have your time and attention. And then also, because I've worked from home since I had kids, and so, summers are kind of crazy. And my kids would find when the phone rang, that was the perfect opportunity to ask mom a question. I don't know why, but that was like like, oh, let's ask her. And so I had to start, giving them a time, like, okay, I've got to do my work, but I'm going to take a break at 2, and then I'm all yours, So, and of course, when kids are little, they are watching that clock, and they're like, it's 2:00. They're like right there, like, okay. But when you give them a specific time that they know that they're gonna be able to have your attention, you'll find that it doesn't, because if they don't have that, they're like always bugging you, because they're like, oh, does she have time for me now? Can she talk now? But when they know like 2:00, then they're gonna go do whatever they're gonna do, and then they're gonna come back at 2:00.
So organization
Yeah.
helps a lot.
So back to the balance thing, the work-life balance, it sounds like you're more of the philosophy that it doesn't have to be even on time, but it should be like even on impact. And
Yeah.
it sounds like you're one way I've heard this phrase before is like, be where your feet are. Sounds like you're a big fan of that, and especially intentionally at least 15 minutes a day. Do you have suggestions for what to do during that 15 minutes? Like you had the good, bad, and grateful activity. Are there other suggestions that you give to your moms that you recommend in that 15-minute time?
Yeah, so I usually start out with the good, bad, grateful because that's I mean it's pretty simple and it kind of gets things started. Because if your house is just totally chaotic, it's like sitting down with your kid to have like a deeper conversation just isn't going to happen. First off, they're going to be like, "What? Why are we talking?" You know. So so there's kind of a progression. And then I talked to them about, you know, talking to your kids about problem solving and conflict resolution and healthy relationships and all. And so but having that quality time just it because you know think about it, like if you're at work and then like your boss is like, oh, I need you to, you know, do this task that's going to take about 15 more minutes before you leave. You're going to find the energy to do that for 15 minutes. And so I'm thinking, you know, take that same energy when you get home, you know, use all the energy you have to like give your kids that attention. And that also leads me to another thing. It's important to have some downtime too, because you know, sometimes when a parent comes home, like right after work, they've got to like process their day. And the same thing, kids right after school, they've got to process their day. So it's like going right into structure right after school isn't necessarily the best thing. It can cause a lot of frustration and yelling and so and having that communication too. So like my husband, I'd be home with the kids all day and he'd come home and I'd just the door would open, I'd be like, hey Dad. And one time he just told me, he says, you know what, can I just have like 30 minutes to just
Yes.
chill and then we can talk.
Decompress, yeah.
And I'm glad he told me that because that made all the difference. And so and letting your kids know that too is healthy because they need to know, you know what, everybody needs to have that downtime and it's okay to have that downtime. And
I want to interject something that I learned the hard way about relationships between husbands and wives. And what I learned was, and being married to an actress is probably the reason I learned it at all. But we created a standing kind of an understanding that if, for example, I came home and came through the door and there was a crisis of some sort, somebody did something wrong, somebody hit somebody else, somebody, whatever. If my wife would tell me what my role is first before she told me what the problem was, I handled it much better. So if she met me at the door and said, you need to go talk to Joe right now, then I knew what my role was. Or I need to get your opinion on something, but I'm going to handle it. I knew what my role was. Or I just need you to listen and don't say a word. I knew what my role was. And that has really helped a lot in the relationships. And I recommend it to every husband in the world, because it absolutely does work. If you'll just tell me the role first. Well, and the decompression of 30 minutes is absolutely magic. I highly recommend it.
I like that tone about the role because when I was first married and okay, you'll find I'm like, and I come home and talk and it was like my husband was trying to like fix my problem, but I was actually just that's how I was decompressing my day.
Yes.
And then finally I was like I don't need you to fix it. I just need you to listen. And so then it kind of like put the pressure off of him and I mean then he just needed to like act like he was listening. I don't know if he's
Just chill out. You gotta just listen.
Sure, I can do that.
And so, but it comes back to communication. And to having communication with your spouse and having communication with your kids. It really calms the chaos in the home, because a lot of what's happening, your kids aren't misbehaving and acting out and everything just to get you upset with them. You know,
Sure about that?
there be some kids that do, but usually it's because they don't even know how to express what they're feeling. And you know, when you talk to them and acknowledge that what their emotion is, and talk about, you know, what's going on, why are they feeling that way, they're gonna start learning what these different emotions are, and then they're gonna start learning like healthy ways to deal with those emotions.
So do you do in-person workshops where somebody can get an example of how this
I
works?
do, on August 23rd, and actually I will have, yeah, I will be talking about, you know, when your kids have those big emotions and what to do.
On the topic of the decompressing, I wanna get your opinion on something on that. Do you think it's healthy to limit, cause you were talking about, you know, you got one activity here, you got activity here, and you just run. And thinking about the impact that's having on the child themselves, not being able to decompress themselves. Do you think it's healthy to limit activities, like say, no, you're only gonna do one sport this year, or you're only gonna do, I don't know, what's your thoughts on that?
I think it kind of depends on the kid. So, you know, I mean, if their grades start going down, then, you know, you might want to look at the activities. If they come home and they're just, you know, totally exploding and nothing's calming them down, you know, you might want to look at that. But it really depends on the kids, because we had some really crazy busy schedules, and we managed. But I have to say, when we had a season where there was like no sport happening, then I was like, yeah, I don't know if we need to do all those things. And so the other thing too is talking to your kids on how important each activity is, because you know, I mean, one of my kids, I found out an activity she was going to, I think it was more because I wanted her to go and not because she wanted to go. And I was like, well, if you don't want to go, then we'll just like take that off the list. So,
What about these two words, communication and I cannot read your mind? To me, there was a lot of times where my spouse would be having some type of difficulty, but she did not know how to communicate it to me, to where, you know, I want to help you, but I can't read your mind type thing.
yeah,
Do you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
And to me, that was difficult because that was stressful and confusing to me. Because I want to help you and you love them and you want to do things for them. But if they're not communicating properly, you know.
yeah. And sometimes in that you can just ask, you know, how they want you to help them. And so that, which kind of goes back to what Dave was saying, where telling you what your role is.
Yeah, that was excellent, by the way.
Thank you.
But if she's not quite sure, you know, what she's going through, then you know, talking about it and trying to help her figure out what's going on.
What's in this day and age for kids? Are they bringing homework home, or is it all on a tablet now? How do they do what they have to do for school?
It varies. It varies depending on the teacher and class, and like, yeah, it can be on a tablet, or they'll bring home a cardboard. I need this done by tomorrow, Dad. Can we do this done?
I love those last minute projects.
Do they still have books?
Yeah, they start.
Yeah, I think you're right. It just depends on the dynamic. Like we have one son that's in a private school and the other one that's not. And the one that's not, he brings home stuff all the time. The one that's in private school, they limit their homework. Like it should be done at school with the teacher, which we like, because it's, you know, that's school time. That's
Yeah.
not home time. It's not schoolwork. It's schoolwork, not homework.
Yeah.
With one thing I was gonna say too, kind of along that, communication and when we have conflict or we have issues of our own, being able to model that to our kids and, you know, my wife and I always try to, you know, if we're talking through something, you know, it's a family thing we're talking through, and so we're modeling to them like, hey, this is how we resolve issues or ask
Yeah.
questions or talk about our feelings, our emotions, and doing that in a healthy way to help foster their growth. And the other part of that too is it's funner, like, you know, they're little and their emotions are simple. And then they start getting into that teenager phase and, oh, you're getting like human emotions.
Yeah.
And then having to navigate that, I think
Yeah.
is a whole nother
Yeah.
challenge. So
And I think too, like when your kids are little, you know, the problems that they come to you with, that is like their whole life, you know, and those are big problems. But I mean, looking at like the grand scheme of things, it's a small problem, but you want to treat it like it's a big problem for them and help them through it and not be a fixer. You want to kind of walk them through the steps to figure it out themselves because it's kind of like training wheels. And so the little problems that they work on when they're little, it's gonna help them with the bigger problems when they're older. The process will basically be the same, but and so they're learning that as they go. And then it just kind of grows with them. But if you're always like fixing their problem, it's like they're gonna be an adult and they're gonna be like, wait, but mom's always fixed my problems, you know? Um, so yeah, helping them, like if they have a problem with something at school, a lot of times I kind of coach my kids on like what to say. Like if there's a problem with a teacher or they didn't like their grade or you know whatever, we kind of talk about what they're gonna say, what they're gonna ask, and then I'd be like, okay, then come home, tell me what they said, and then you know we'll kind of go from there. And most of the time they were able to work things out themselves, but there were times where it was like, okay, mom's gotta step in. But really most of the problems they were able to deal with themselves. And I saw as they got older and in high school, there were situations that came up and I was like, wow, they just dealt with that themselves. And so I was pretty confident when the time came for them to move out, you know,
That's what
they
you're
can
hoping
handle
to
it.
see.
Yeah, I mean, you're basically raising like little adults, and you know, you're raising your kids to be independent, and then all of a sudden, boom, they're independent, and so it's a little bittersweet because you know you like having them home, but at the same time, they're growing up and they're going to start their own life, and
If I could shift it a little bit, because you're talking about when you have that relationship, and I'm thinking about a great online testimonial you received recently from a mom who has a daughter already, has this, you know, has had challenges and things, and she gave you a glowing testimonial on something you had advised her on how to start building that relationship, even though they were already in a, you know, kind of butting heads together. So, you know, tell us about that story, about that program you're building to help mothers who, you know, maybe have an older child that they're already
okay,
having issues with.
yeah.
How do you get started anywhere you're at in the journey with your child?
Yeah, so this can be with any age child. I did a challenge recently on social media called Catch Them Being Good. And so what it was, kids a lot of times, you know, they're just hearing correction and discipline. It's like when they're at school, they're hearing, you know, what they should have done or what they're not doing, and rarely are kids hearing that they're doing something correct, and they're learning like a sponge. And so if you tell them that they're doing something well, that's gonna be reinforced and they're gonna go, oh, I should do that again. Otherwise, it's still kind of trial and error. And they're just hearing what they're doing wrong. Pretty soon they're gonna have this identity that they're a bad kid and they can't do anything. And then they start getting that negative self-talk. And so this activity, Catch Them Being Good, is, and you can do this even with a kid that you're just like, I don't know, they're like so out of control. I don't know if there's even a good thing. You'd be surprised when kids sit down to eat. You can compliment them that they're sitting and eating lunch. When they're sleeping, when they get up in the morning, you can say, I really, really liked how you slept through the night. I mean, there's certain things you can find even with the wildest kid.
I would like to note that the sincerity is very important in that, position there.
Oh,
And in those problems, because when you try and do what you just said to help them and tell them what they're doing good, which is positive interaction and everything. If you say something and for some reason it's not as sincere as it could be, they will catch that and they'll, I don't know, I think
Yeah.
it hurts them
So-
more than it would help.
yeah. And so what I talked about doing in this, and I actually did this with my kids when they were little too, is it's like, oh, I caught you. And of course they're like, wait, what was it?
Good.
And then you go, I just caught you doing whatever it was. And then let them know why. I say, that was really responsible of you, or that was really kind of you. And so the testimonial that he was referring to, she even noticed that her daughter would even have like a little twinkle in her eye when she was doing something good, because she was kind of like, oh, I'm gonna try doing this good and see if mom catches me. So
Wow.
and
what stood out too was the behavior change in areas she wasn't
yeah,
asking for. She was recognizing one thing and then noticing something else was what she valued was being done.
and so and this activity, when I tried this with my kids, I was shocked at how quick the change was being seen. And was it changing because they were doing more good, or was it changing because my mindset now was like seeing more of the good things? So it kind of works both ways. But when you start recognizing
It's that
kids
quote,
for
change the way you look at things and the
And
things
things
you
you
look
look
at
at,
change.
yeah.
Wow.
And then this got me thinking about my daughter's kindergarten teacher. When she was in kindergarten, she had this teacher, and I just remember that she was always acknowledging kids for doing the right thing. And then I was there chaperoning and for a field trip, and we were waiting for the bus. She had her two half-day kindergarten classes in the classroom. So there was probably like 46 kids in the classroom.
Wow.
And you could hear a pin drop. And they were like listening to her, and they were, doing what they're supposed to, waiting for the bus. And I was just like, oh my gosh, she's got control of 46 kids, and I sometimes don't have control of 2. And so this really
What was her
worked.
secret?
She was recognizing the kids for being good. And so, and it's interesting because even like the troublemaker is like, wait a second, that kid's getting attention. And well, I'm gonna start doing what that kid's doing. So I get, so because they don't really care if it's positive or negative attention, they just want attention. So if you're giving that positive attention, they're gonna start doing, good things. And so yeah, I mean, and 46 kids, I don't even know how many personalities were in that room, but this works really with anybody. And when I ran this challenge last week, I even had a friend tell me she was doing this with her husband. So kids,
Good kids.
husbands, whoever.
So the husband,
Wants to be seen, heard, and valued.
I'm imagining a whole bunch of husbands out there waiting for the bus and behaving.
So, but yeah, I mean, everyone wants to be seen, heard, and valued. So, So this can work in like all relationships. I mean, what you want to see is what you recognize, and
I think you're onto something, Heidi.
Yeah.
I think that reinforcement is gonna work in almost every scenario.
yeah.
So starting it out with the parents and the kids and getting that going right away.
And it really, yeah, it really kind of changes the mindset. And then back to the good, bad, and grateful activity, that gratitude piece really helps with your kids' mindset too, because they could have had like a really horrible day. But when you ask them, okay, but what are you grateful for today? Even though, that horrible thing happened, letting them know that there's something good in even, the worst situations.
Little side story, when my kids were little, my wife went out and bought a red plate, had white writing on it.
Oh, yeah, we had one of those.
Did you
yeah.
have one of those?
Yeah,
I'm finding that a lot of people have those, it says your special day or something on it.
yeah, something like that, yeah.
And every birthday, when the kid came along and it was their birthday, where's the red plate? I need the red plate.
Those traditions are wonderful.
Yeah,
Like on Thanksgiving Day, well, we'll go around the table and tell everybody what you're thankful for and things like that. I mean, that's wonderful. It's insight into that particular person. They're being honest. They're telling what else has helped them. It's a positive thing. It just builds so much, and we should need to do that more than just on Thanksgiving Day.
yeah.
I mean,
And it's interesting though, because when we did that one Thanksgiving, and I mean, some of the things people said, just they would have never said it had we not done that activity. And so, doing that on a daily basis in your home, then you're really seeing what's going on in your kid's mind and your family's mind.
So I'm curious to know with the asking or trying to recognize good behavior and recognize and telling the children that, have you had any kids start doing it back to their parents?
Oh, I don't know.
My youngest, he's always
But possibly, nobody's told me that, but
I'd be curious to see. It'd be fun.
yeah. But kids do kind of mimic what they see, so.
monkey see, monkey do.
Have husbands started doing it?
I mean, on a Valentine's Day, I have this little tradition where the 1st through the 14th, I put little hearts with little affirmations on my kids' bedroom doors, and now that they moved out, I mail them to them. But one year when I did that, it's like I came home and I found a heart on my door. So, so the kids do, they watch what you're doing, and they're watching more of what you're doing than just what you're saying.
So we've got about 8 minutes left. Do you have anything on your prepared notes and things that we haven't touched on that you'd like to get in?
Well, we didn't talk a whole lot about like the relationship with the spouse. And I think what's important there is making time for date nights. And those don't need to cost money. That doesn't need to be like dinner and a movie every week. But just making some intentional time. I mean, one time, like the kids were at youth group and I was like, hey, we've got 2 hours, no kids, take advantage of those times when your kids are out at an activity. And so we just, stayed home and did stuff at home. But instead of just coming home after dropping them off and doing, housework or, whatever, we were intentional about that time. And so I would say weekly, and also like if you have other friends with kids, you can swap kids. So you can have a date night out of the house and they watch your kids, and then they can have a date night out of the house and you watch their kids. And so that way it doesn't cost money on the babysitting either. So,
well, like you said earlier, you're gonna be, with that spouse a lot longer than you're
yeah,
for the kids in the house.
yeah. And so, and what I found, I realized how impactful that was. I was told about doing that, you know, when my kids were young and, you know, so I kind of put that in the schedule. But when I really noticed the impact was when, my kids were 18 and 20, they both moved out of the house within a couple weeks of each other. So there wasn't like the gradual empty nest. It was like, boom, the
See ya.
little birdies flew away and the nest is empty. And we didn't really notice. I think a lot of people, they tend to, I don't know, they notice it more because it's like, oh my gosh, now it's like they don't know their spouse like they used to. And we had things all planned. We had a trip planned for that September, and you know, we're just going about our regular schedule. Of course, it was bittersweet to see them move out, but we were really excited because, you know, they were ready, and you know, that's how we raised them so that they could be independent.
Well, I
So,
think that goes back to like initially you were talking about your three pillars, right? Your
Yeah.
relationship with your kids, your spouse, and yourself. I liken that to like a three-legged stool. If you only have one of those legs on that stool, you're pretty easy to fall over.
Yeah.
And I see that happen a lot with parents where their children become the entire identity, and if that leg goes out, like you don't have anything to balance on.
yeah. So, yeah, so basically, you know, you've got the three pillars, so that connection and bond with your kids, and nurturing the relationship with your spouse, and that self-care. And the self-care can be, you know, 5 minutes, 10 minutes a day, doing something, journaling, let's see, Bible study, exercise,
Gardening.
reading, gardening, you know, anything that you just really enjoy for yourself. Just nice and So, yeah, so, you know, and it takes some time to be intentional up front, but the long-term impact is gonna be huge. So,
Right.
and then right before we end, so I've got this workshop, August 23rd, and there is a code on here, Friday 5. You put that in, you'll save $5. So, and it's at the Spokane Learning Co-op outside, so dress for the weather. It'll be fun.
All right, this has been awesome, and one thought that just kind of came into, so my wife's been in grad school, and so she's been very busy. I'm filling in a lot. But one thing that I find is that we joke about like I'm doing a lot of what mom was doing. But to the kids, like mom's not replaceable. They're always, there's something special about that relationship with mom, and I think as dads, we do our best and we fill in, and there's really important parts there too, but I think it's awesome what you're doing to help support moms when they're really not replaceable, and they're such an important part of development, and so are dads, but I know there's just a special place there.
The kids are gonna remember that time with you too.
Yeah.
I mean, there's different times where I was working out of the home, or I was working from the home, but out of the home in the evenings. And so my husband was with the kids, and so there's some situations that are activities they did that they still talk about today, you know, from the time they were little. So
Those
yeah,
are the ones where I
so
say, don't tell mom we did this.
it's very, you know, all the time you spend with them, it's important. And yeah, you don't replace mom, but you're the dad, so you do dad things.
Awesome. Well, so next week we have Brandy Ferrer on. What was?
I believe she's speaking to leadership, which is one of her specialty areas.
Awesome. So that'll be a great conversation next week. So be sure to come here if you can. Or tune in online. Again, we're grateful to be here at Action Business Furniture and their support in letting us put this on every week. And be sure to. I gotta pull out my hair.
Yeah, gotta get prepped. So find us on Facebook under our SSB, Spokane Small Business Entrepreneurs Facebook group. You can find our Facebook Lives there. But we also publish these to our YouTube. And if you know anyone who would benefit from Heidi's wisdom on how to build children who are resilient and thriving in our modern world, you can find the replays of all of our chats, especially this one with Heidi, on our YouTube channel. And we encourage you to like and subscribe and share our message with the community and the people you care about. So thank you much.
Thanks, Heidi.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Heidi.
Have a good one.